Hi everyone, John Doyle from Optics EQ. Today I want to talk about Optics Notes. A lot of people who know about Optics Notes have been kind of focused on green keywords. They've asked all kinds of questions about when you use it. How do you use it? How do you filter? How do you actually apply notes to races? It's good to have the information. And hopefully we can give you at least some ideas how to use it, and then you can be creative and figure out other ways to use it, or even better than the way we do it. So I'm going to do the first thing I want to do, because I just don't want to just focus in green keywords or particular keywords, show you where you can get access to all the keywords. So I'm on the Optics EQ homepage. You go to info, you click info, you go down to notes. Okay, and click that. And then there's all the information about notes, quick reference guide, user guide, frequently asked questions, and then keywords. So if you click keywords, and I'm going to keep this kind of maybe up to the side a little bit, you can download this, and this is every one of the keywords. So if you have any questions about, hey, what's that keyword mean, and how can I use it, and how do I plug it in? Well, there you go. Okay, so that's where you get it. That's where you get the information. You can download this if you want. So that's good information, where to get it, and all the rest. So let's go to select a race. I'm going to go back here. And again, anytime you need to get to our information, you go to select races, and it's all there, all our products, all the track selections, all the dates, and all the rest. Okay, I'm going to start with Optics Rod, because that's where I can find horses and particular keywords that I might be looking for. So I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to change the date. I'm going to look at tomorrow, which is the 30th. So that if you are playing, you can kind of play along and see how we kind of do things. So here we go. I'm going to look for, typically, like when I go in here, one of the things, one of the filters I use is green keyword in the last race. That's a good one. Always good to kind of maybe start with that. But there's lots of ways you can go depending on what you're trying to do. You can also look for green keyword in the last three races. So one of the things that sometimes you'll see is what I would call like a delayed green word. So in other words, a horse will have a green keyword, not maybe run improvement that we expected, but there might be, a particular reason, right? So for instance, if we look at number 1 here at Gulfstream, number 9, Melly Mel, had kickback. So we expect that horse to, project that horse to do much better out of the kickback race. But the horse routed, the horse is not really around. You can see in the keyword here is sprinter, had trouble to start, was rushed. Okay. And then Melly Mel, I think that's Mel, came back and ran in a short sprint. Okay. Again, I'm not necessarily sure that was the, turf, the best surface for this horse. It was against better. So we projected a drop for the next time. So this is a horse that, you just kind of looking, doesn't have a green keyword in the last race, but had a green keyword 3 races back. And you can make some cases why that horse didn't show the improvement that was expected based on being kind of on the wrong surface and distance last couple of times. I'm going to just, if you double click on this horse, it's going to pull up the plot for the race. See Melly Mel, Prince, Mel, okay. Plots nicely on standard. Surface distance, okay. If I look at, one of the things I kind of look at is, is the horse kind of really dropping? He's going from a maiden special weight. And you got to make sure you're looking at the right tracks, comparing track to track to a maiden claimer. That's a drop. The horse is kind of above average on speed and class and plot. So all good in that particular. And the race that this horse did run and had the kickback and was green as a debut, that was at Belmont. So that was not actually a maiden 50 comparison. That's probably a little bit stronger race. You can see the numbers here. You can just hover over and you can see the class ratings for the races. So the horse has been in similar class. He's getting a drop today. So interesting horse at 92. Again, I would look at this race a little bit more closely. Not to say I'm just going to lay down on this horse, but just look at the race a little bit more closely. You can see the Morning Light favorite 2-1 area code 5-1 is 501 is actually kind of look like moving up in class based on the last 2 races. Maybe more of a level move, but still a horse you might want to look at. But again, just how I get to some horses, this kind of is the start of my handicapping. And you're getting into the next level of notes where you're kind of using it to apply and interpret kind of the horse's form, right? Basically, when you look at speed, plot, and class, we all look at different ways to kind of assess that, but essentially these labels, what it means is how's this horse fit relatively on class, speed, and plot in the race. And those are kind of a little bit more less subjective than the form of the horse. So it's more of a capability statement. Is the horse fast enough? Does the horse, from the pace perspective, look fine? You know, and from a class perspective, does the horse fit at today's level? The only thing that's kind of more subjective and harder to kind of assess is the horse coming into this race in a certain way, and can we project this horse to either improve, regress, or kind of about stay the same? And in the case of Mel, I think this horse could be sneakily has a chance to improve. And if he could get back to that race 3 back and improve on that race, makes this horse a strong contender. And 9-2 seems like generous odds. Again, I didn't assess the rest of the field. And you know, you could do this with every horse, right? You go through every horse in the field and you should do this. But I'm just showing you maybe ways to get to this early. So instead of using just green keyword in the last race, I've used green keyword for this case. There's other keywords that may not be green that you might want to, for instance, one that I kind of look at is horses that are dropping. And yeah, they're dropping in class. Horses drop in class all the time. But when you see a keyword say drop, what we're saying is that there's a horse that not only we're looking to improve at a drop. Some horses are dropping and they're just dropping because they're just off form. So you want to kind of differentiate horses that are just kind of like off form versus horses that are dropping for a good reason. And so we'll look at this race. It's also in race 1, same race with Mel is Madeline's Promise at Gulfstream tomorrow. So you see this number 1, 10-1 in the morning line. This horse debuted at, well, I'm going to double click this horse so I get his full run line. That's the best way to do it. So I'm going to go over to plot and grid. And we'll look at number 5, Madeline's Promise. Okay, so this horse, pretty good debut at Keeneland. You know, those maiden special races are competitive. You know, they're high level. Then ships into Churchill after the end of the Keeneland meet and could not keep up, rushed, warm up. Just didn't run a good race going 2 turns. So it was a big change in terms of, you know, going from a short sprint, from a sprint to a 2-turn race. Just wasn't up to it. Then came back and just run terribly in the Gulfstream race. But if you look at some of the keynotes, drop and shorter. And if you look at this horse was dual. And if you go over to the race shape in that race, it was fast and average. So it was a pretty fast early pace. This horse is dropping now, going to get shorter, right? He's going to get back to that 6.5 furlongs. If somehow this horse gets back to that debut, which is not impossible, right? Wrong distance. Last time, caught in a duel, going fast last time. I'm not saying this horse is going to win the race and improve dramatically from a speed figure of 41 or whatever. But again, you take a look at who they're running against. Form-wise, this horse is going to improve from that 41. There's no doubt in my mind. Is it good enough? Again, you got to look at the field. This horse is below on speed, but above on class. So this horse is getting the right drop. This is his 2nd race off a layoff, gets the shift. Let's look at his recent works. No recent works. That's a little bit of a red flag for me. But the, let me just, when I look at the barn is kind of on a tear recently at Gulfstream. So this is a horse that I just would keep an eye on. Again, you got to assess the form, but I'm just showing you how to use really the keywords on how to get to the next level of handicapping and maybe assess form differently than you do today, and not just saying, oh, the horse lost by 27 lengths, so the horse, whatever. Gives you a little bit more context. I'm going to go back to the rod here. And I wanted to look at a horse. I looked at this before, so I'm going to go to a race at Oaklawn Park. Let me go to Oaklawn. So I just select Oaklawn. Again, I'm going from the rod filter table. And I'm going to go to race race one. I think it's race one. Yeah. Okay, I don't see race one in here. Okay, let me clear. Oh, there's no drops. Okay, let me clear this out. Race one. And I want to look at the number 3, Blue Ember. Okay. So Blue Ember is 20 to 1. Okay, which is pretty good. Price for, I think, for this horse. When you look at it, so this horse is going to be a route. It's going to be 8.5 furlongs. And it's not one, it's two. It's a low-level race. Just thought this horse had some interest. Let me just highlight this horse. So this horse, in his debut, was lone. Didn't gallop out well, but ran a nice race going 8.5 furlongs and won the race. Broke his mass, ran at 75. Came back, and you look at the note here, blanket photo, just was pretty much outclassed in the next race. Let me just go. I need the grid to look at this horse a little bit more closely and make the case for him. At least interesting case for this horse. Okay, so again, off the maiden, lone, we projected a regress. The horse did regress, okay, in first time versus winners. Then came back 230 days later. So the horse regressed, something went wrong, obviously, with the horse. Comes back, and they warm the horse up. That's what that warm-up means. So they gave a really good warm-up into the horse. Sometimes I notice that that's kind of like, it's some people, how they think about warm-up. Sometimes it can be taxing. Sometimes I think they do it for, horses they maybe want into the race early, especially like a deep closer. Sometimes to me, it looks like almost like you're prepping the horse to do well in maybe future races, just kind of get this horse back acclimated to racing. And I just think that's what the case was. You can interpret a lot of different ways. But you can see the notes here say, look, this horse, sprinting is not what this horse does best. You can see even in his races, his best races are routing. And then obviously the bad route, something went wrong. So this horse is stretching, but we project this horse should stretch out the next time. And we looked at this race as a prep. Whoever took the notes said, look, this looks like a prep. They're getting ready to stretch this horse out. And then they're going to drop this horse. So this horse is dropping, getting 2 turns, second off a layoff. And again, you have to look at, how does this horse stand up? If we can think this horse is going to improve from the 56, is he okay? He's a little bit below average on speed, which is kind of a little bit understandable because this is a horse that, again, was, a 3-year-old. So he's running against older horses. So you got to give a little credence there. Above average on the plot and a little bit below average in class. Again, is a 3-year-old kind of moving up a little bit in class because the 3-year-old races are restricted. But this is a horse that's capable of running what needs to be run to win this race. The Optics fig range is 71 to 77. And just, again, when you look at this, you got to look at the rest of the field, obviously. But at 20 to 1, I think this horse is kind of a viable horse. She seems to want to do what she, likes to do, stretch out. This looks like a pretty soft spot, these non-2 lifetime. Let me just clear the filters on this. When you kind of look at this race and you say, okay, let me just see today's surface and distance, let's see how these horses kind of compete. I'm just going to sort by speed figure. And you can see that she's got some of the top speed figures at today's distance already. So if you get a little bit more projection because of her age and so forth, not an impossibility at 20 to 1, and it's a live horse. And so that's a horse that when you kind of like most people look at the form might not come up with, even to kind of maybe hit the board. But if you kind of dig in a little bit, you can kind of make cases for it. And that's really the idea here. It's such a tough game. Everyone kind of looks at the speed figures. They look at the class. They look at the, kind of maybe the pace of the race. And I'm not so sure about that. So I think where our edge is in optics, we look at the pace differently, and we look at form cycle differently. So I think these are the 2 areas. And again, it's the other thing about us is that there's not a formula for form, right? You just have to kind of do some interpretation. I guess you could come up with some algorithms, but it's really difficult because there's just so many different aspects. And the information, there's not enough like good content that we believe the way we structured our keywords in OptixNOTES is it gives you that kind of edge. It gives you the ability to kind of like go beyond what's in the PPs. And I think that's what we're all about, going beyond the traditional PPs and going beyond even what algorithms and models, because a model or an algorithm only could be good as the data going in. Okay, you see that sometimes when you do some of these searches or chat GPT and you're saying, that's not right. I mean, yeah, it could crunch the numbers, it could come up with stuff, but bad data in, bad out. Okay, so we try to focus on providing you good data and data that's not available elsewhere. So that's our differentiator. So let me go back to Rod. There was another couple of horses I wanted to look at on, this is again, I'm looking at Thursday the 30th. Let's see, I think it was Aqueduct race 3. Okay, let's look at that one. Let me just clear the filters. Let me get on the 30th first. And, you know, like, again, you can get to anything from anywhere here, basically in notes. I don't know if you see that, but you can go back to anywhere you want to go back to. You know, you don't have to open up new tabs. You could choose to do that, but I'm just saying. Okay, race 3. All right, you know, like one of the things I have to tell you, this kickback is a very strong OptixNOTE keyword. So Equus is a horse that we think is probably could do well on turf, but ran a good race. Sometimes these Remington Park figures, I think, are a little bit inflated, but still winnable race back on the September. Came back on after layoff, dueled. Let's go to, again, I gotta go to the notes. Let's take a look at the source a little bit more closely. You see, I mean, some of this notes stuff is like storytelling. You kind of go up from the bottom to the top almost. So this horse kind of likes to win. He had a bad turf, but we still think this horse might like turf. But anyway, his one bad race was on on turf. Debut wasn't that great, but since then the horse kind of proved that this horse can win races. Now, who's he running against? Remington Park, lower level track. Comes into Churchill, gets a sloppy track, and doesn't keep up, but still runs a pretty decent figure. You know, nothing terrible. Then has kind of moved way up in class, gets the kickback, and you know, so the two things that we're looking at here is that the kickback and then the drop back to reasonable level, right? You can see just the numbers. This horse, you know, doesn't fit, you know, at that level. So I think this is kind of a little bit of a hidden form. I like to switch a jockey. This is a second time race. Maybe she just brought this horse in, got a feel for this horse. This horse race looks better than it does in terms of the number because of the kickback. Gets to switch to kind of a, I think, an upgrade in terms of jockey. Second time race. This horse kind of started showing good form in the Midwest with Steve Asmussen. But, you know, it's, again, a different level. This seems to be the right level, and Rice is really good at spotting this horse. Now, this horse is no, like, bargain at 3-1, but, again, just kind of showing you, like, and the information like this is just not available anywhere. So this is a way to kind of, when you say, wow, how's that horse 3-1? You can kind of understand it a little bit better now in context of the notes. Okay, I'm going to go back. And I think... let's see, Gulfstream race. I think there was a couple. Oaklawn race 5. I mean, you can do this with any horse, right? I mean, as you're handicapping a race, you're going through the form with all the different horses. But again, the filters allow you to, like, let's say if I want to look for, you know, horses on improve or horses that are stretching out, I would just type that keyword right in there. And again, all those keywords, I showed you how to get to all those keywords, but also the keyword dictionaries here too. So you can click this and this will show you all of them right there. So you don't have to, so you want to look at any of them. So that's another good thing, right? Everything's kind of at your fingertips. You don't have to go run somewhere else, it's right there. So you can just say which keywords you want to look for and so forth. So Oaklawn race 5, thought the 4 was a horse that we've kind of projected improvement on. Kind of was a turf, doing his thing on the turf. Is a horse that you can see had tactics minus. And I love horses when you see extended notes, and always make sure you see this little blue bubble. Make sure you hover over these ones, because it can be a very good note in extended information that you might not just see just with the keywords. And this one says, first run winner, race starting the slow late, made early move and showed run in a subtle. I love subtle. I love the word subtle, including mild contact with a rival. So things like that, I wanted to point out too. You just make sure you're looking at the bubble. You can get some little tidbits that can mean a whole difference when you're trying to differentiate between two horses. I want to look at GP, also race 8. Okay, and the number 5, again, another tactics kind of thing. You want to be looking at horses too that maybe didn't get the best of that trip. It's like just kind of tactics. You know, race has certain dynamics. You know, when you make a move, when you don't make a move, the jockey's not aggressive enough. And so you'll see things like this horse in his last 2 races have, you know, tactics minus in his last 2 races. So probably, you know, a horse you can maybe project a little bit of an upgrade with, maybe with a jockey change, an equipment change, and so forth. Just another one of these keywords to look at and evaluate in context of the horse and the races. Okay. So yeah, I think that's, those are the things, again, some of the keywords that we always kind of focus on, the green ones, but also ones like drop are important. So you look at horses like that. You want to look at stretch, when horses are stretching out. If they're not stretching out, you want to view this almost like as a negative. So in case like this, we talked about Blue Ember before. This horse is going from 6 furlongs to turn mile and 16. So you want to look at horses like this. Some of the stretches could be delayed, like maybe in the case of the 3 early on in race 8. I don't know. I didn't go into that form, but that's a possibility. Or Little Hottie, who we thought was a prep in the first race. Projected stretch out. The horse did get a little bit more ground and improve dramatically in terms of speed figure, but it's just not in the right spots, right? So no matter how well a horse can improve based on these keywords, if they're not in the right spot, they're not going to win. But doesn't mean they haven't improved. Another stretch, but the horse not getting a stretch out, still staying in a sprint. So we'll view that as like either neutral or negative. Okay, we'll look to upgrade the horse when the horse eventually does stretch out. But again, it may not be the right spot. So those are the things. So the other thing to look for, an important one, is turf. And what you're looking for here as a projection is when a horse is going to make the switch to turf. So we think we're going to upgrade the horse on a switch back to the turf. And so you'll see some of these here. There's the one at the fairgrounds tomorrow. Like if you just go turf, right? Because this is today's surface, or today meaning the 30th. So if you go turf, okay. I think it's turf. Oh, okay. I don't know why that's not working. But if you do, I don't know where that filter's not working. But if you look at these 2 horses, the number 8 instant replay and fairgrounds race 8 tomorrow. This horse is making a transition back to turf, or maybe an initial switch to turf. You got to go into the form and look at, but this horse is a potential upgrade. So if his 81, see the green coloring means this horse is already competitive in terms of the Optix fig range. So this is something to pay attention to. And then this is kind of more of a delayed one. So this horse is turf 2 races back. Did improve on an off the turf race. So this horse is now stretching out. Don't know about the stretch, but the transition to turf based on the note shouldn't be impediment, I should say. So that's the types of things we're kind of looking for. So you could go endless kind of evaluating form, and as you get to use it, just as you're handicapping a race and going down a horse's form, you kind of want to go more from the bottom up. You want to use these notes to try to paint a picture of where this horse is heading in terms of form. It's the biggest differentiator. If you want to compete with the model guys and expert handicappers and inside information, I tell you, this is the best and the only way you can do it. And there's no, I'm not going to give you any answer and say you can do it. It takes work, it takes a lot of hard work, but at least you have the platform, the content to give you a shot. And that's what it's all about. Okay. John Doyle from OptixEQ. I'm going to be doing hopefully a video later this week talking about some of the preps this weekend for the Kentucky Derby. Hopefully do more of these. Welcome any kind of feedback, what you guys want to hear or listen to. Yeah, let us know. Let me know. You can just go to our website, optixeq.com, contact us that way. And thanks for listening.